Welcome to the Right Tack, where we help private practice owners face the headwinds of the healthcare industry. I'm Paul Jonas, CEO and co-founder of Breezy Billing and Phoenix Credentialing.
Well, and I'm Jim Jonas. I'm therapist, co-founder of Breezy Billing, Phoenix Credentialing, and the Jonas Center.
And Sam Major is the owner and CEO of Apollo Counseling, Inc., which provides outpatient therapy and arms services, and Fenris, Inc., his behavioral health business consulting practice. He's also the facilitator of the monthly Arms Network, first Thursday of every month. And he is here to talk to us a little bit about contractors versus employees. So, Sam, welcome to the Right Tack.
Hey, thank you so much, Paul. Thank you, Jim. It's a pleasure coming in here. I know we've been talking and working together off and on for a while. So yeah. Nice to get together in person.
Well, great. All right. So today we're dedicating the whole episode to the contractor versus employee question.
Mm-hmm.
That's been on my mind for about 25 years. The control trade-offs, the financial reality, the legal risk, and what it means for your clinical culture. And Sam's going to give us a good rundown on those specifics.
Awesome. So if you're a practice owner who's thinking about adding staff, or you already have people working for you and you're not totally sure whether they're correctly classified, this one's for you. Sam, glad to have you.
Thanks.
We're back with Sam. Before we get into the legal minefield that is contractor classification, Sam, there's a question we like to ask people. What you doing this weekend?
Well, it's a good question for me because this weekend I'm actually going to be connecting with a friend of mine who does research into psychedelics, and he's going to be walking me through the actual science papers that organizations like MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, is putting out, because I do not understand that level of sciency-ness. I get a lot of science, but I cannot understand when it gets to that PhD level. So I'm going to be connecting with him, meeting up, and really going through and trying to understand, especially in regards to ketamine, if you guys are familiar with that, kind of what it's doing on a chemical level and what the research is actually saying, rather than just reading the news articles and being like, oh, it happens to be on every street corner now. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool. I got to tell you, my wife's a microbiologist, immunologist. And I remember once in college, one of the papers she showed me, the only word in the title I understood was of.
Yep.
Okay.
It's exactly that kind of paper where you're just looking, and they're like talking about statistics things that you're like, yeah, they made us take statistics and I somehow didn't fail. Right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Yep. How about you? What are you doing, Dad?
Plumbing.
I
have a leak, just a small little leak in my main line at my house, and I'm hoping to do plumbing. So I've got to get my brother-in-law to come on over and help me with this. It should be a blast down in the basement. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And and for me, what I'm doing, and I'm actually going to go to next week. So this weekend, don't really have big plans for once. I'm smoking a little meat on Saturday, but next weekend, my son, who's a Nordic skier, is going to try out a biathlon where you ski and shoot for the first time. So we're headed up to Duluth and going to go check that out. So really excited for that one.
Here we go. Sam, let's start with the foundation, because I think a lot of practice owners assume the contractor versus employee distinction is mostly just a paperwork thing, something like that. From where you sit, running Apollo and consulting with Fenris, what's the actual difference?
Well, a lot of it is it's really based around control and flexibility is where the main difference comes in. And I think, like you said, it's a paperwork thing. It's a tax thing. That is true. It is a tax thing. But first and foremost, if you're really going to be looking at contractors, you need to be able to know you can't tell them what to do. They are an equal versus a W-2 who is a subordinate that you can tell what to do.
Oh, interesting distinction. Yeah.
The way that I explain this to my staff when we do a job interview, we make it very clear. I want them to know up front what they're getting into, because a lot of people don't understand what being a contractor really means. They just think it's some kind of weird tax game, right? So the way that I explain it is, if you're a W-2 and I hire you, I can tell you that you have to wear a purple shirt with a mohawk and raise one hand in the air while you're doing your job. And if that's your job, I told you that's your job description, you do it. That's what you're doing now.
Okay.
Doesn't matter if it makes sense. You have agreed to work for me and be my subordinate. And I am saying that for some reason that is important, right?
Mhm.
So as a contractor, I can tell you, hey, your job is to flip a burger. That's as much as I get to tell you. That, your job is to
Paying
make
you
sure
flip a burger, basically.
Yes.
You do it your way.
if you want to use a spatula, if you want to use a fork, if you want to pound the meat beforehand, whatever you want to do, like, I don't control your ability to do anything other than that burger has to be flipped.
Okay.
And that really gets down to, like I said, it's the control and flexibility piece. Control for the employer and flexibility for the contractor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what made that the right model for your practice?
Well, actually, it has a lot to do with just who I am as a person.
Sure.
I don't think that, and I will say, I don't think it works for all practices. You have to have the ability to really let go, and to really say, I know exactly what I want you to do, and I am okay however you get there. And so for my practice and for me, I don't like ever forcing anyone to do anything just because I wanted them to do it. And anyone who's ever seen me talk at the Arms Network or any of the other things that I do knows that I am very clear. Don't believe anything I say because I said it. Believe it because you went and checked the real resource or the real source and made sure that what I said was true.
Okay.
So with me, I don't want to be in that confrontational environment with a staff member where I, as this, in the hierarchy, I'm in charge.
Sure.
And I'm saying, well, I don't care what you think. You need to do what I told you to do, how I told you to do it. That to me feels really gross. I have been a W-2 employee. We've all been there. We've all had the boss. If in anyone who's ever been a boss, you've tried it, and that you can be successful. And it doesn't feel great. And the example I would give is I actually worked for a arms company before I started my own. And I got in as a treatment supervisor, and the person who owned it was very much on the control side. You're a W-2. I tell you what to do. You do it how I told you to do it. And what I saw is she was able to tell people what to do, which meant that her bottom line was higher because she was able to cut corners and get things and be like, hey, I want you to do it this way. And that means that I make more money. You know what the consequence of that is that someone in the middle, me, had to come in and manage the quotas. I had to be like, hey, I have to make sure that you are producing, you are doing what you need to be doing so that my bottom line gets higher. And with a W-2, you have to do that at some level because W-2s cost money to have. They have benefits, they have rights, they have paid holidays, they have overtime if that comes in, all of that stuff. So if your staff as a W-2 and then taxes, all of that stuff, if they are not producing at a certain level, there is no way you'll be losing money. So the W-2 forces you as an employer to actually push on that person and say, you have to produce. Then I'm going to flip it. And this is why I use the contractor model. With the contractor model, if you set it up right, which is a big if, and I hope we can get into that later.
Clear rules on that.
Yeah. If you set it up right, you have set it up where, hey, when you do this thing that makes me money, I then get the money and I pay you for it. And if you don't do it, nothing else happens. I don't pay your taxes. I don't pay your health care. I don't have an investment in going, hey, I sunk money into training you for 30 hours before I hired you. So I need to get that investment back. It is an equal relationship. Even it doesn't always feel equal. Let's be clear. But it is an equal relationship where if you don't do what I told you to do, the only thing that happens is I go, oh, okay, he's not very motivated. Cool.
It's the end of that contract.
Yeah. So, and notice in that nowhere in that conversation did I go, hey, why didn't you get 20 hours of billable service?
Right.
And that's what I see at a lot of companies that I think actually a lot of people start mental health clinics and they go, I'm going to do it different. I'm gonna do it the right way. We're gonna have a healthy work environment. And then what happens is they hit the reality of running a business, especially with W-2s. You've got overhead, you've got taxes, you've got all of this stuff. And now you've invested in this person who you did not know, and you hired them, and they didn't quite pan out the way you wanted them to go, right? And you're like, oh no, I'm losing out on this. And this person was supposed to help me make more money, and now they're costing me money. And then you start turning into the boss that you never wanted to be, because you need to figure it out. Because at the end of the day, and again, I think this is an important piece about owning a business. The money is it successful or not? And that's just such a different mindset. People who've never been in that position where you're like, either I get this money to come in or the whole thing falls apart.
Right. You can't stay in business losing money.
Right. Yeah. And it's subtle, but it's a different mindset, and it turns people into the same boss that we experience everywhere we go. Right. And that's, so going back to that part about why I chose contractors gave me the flexibility to actually do something different. And there are costs to that. There are things about my business that do not work for some people. People who need their hand held to go through, like, they need somebody who's standing there being like, yes, make your quota, do your thing, make sure you do it correctly. My company's horrible for that, because they're just not going to do it, and they're not going to make any money. And then they're going to leave. But for people who have that, and today I think it's the hustle culture, right? If you have that and you are an independent worker and you just are like, you don't need a boss that's overbearing and telling you, do this now, do this here, make sure you do this, all of the things we hate about bosses. If you don't need that, my company is amazing. And one of the ways that I can even point out how I have that as a reality is I have literally fired people for cause. Well, I mean, it's not firing because it's contract, so it's just letting the contract go. And they have apologized to me for screwing something up. And I've never seen that happen at a normal environment for a W-2 employment.
Okay. And just to clarify real quick, I know we've mentioned ARMS a couple times here today, but we should probably define that just for any of our out-of-staters. Here in Minnesota, we have a program called the Adult Rehabilitative Mental Health Services. And when we're referencing ARMS, that's it. So we're not dealing anything military related or anything like that. One time,
and to mention on that, if anyone looks up www.armsnetwork.com, it's ARMHS.
Yes.
ARMS network.com has a very different website.
A little bit different. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Awesome. Just had to clarify.
Yeah.
Good clarification.
Well, and it's because in Minnesota and with what I do, because that's my consulting business, I'm so immersed in ARMS, I forget about that. I've actually typed ARMS with the acronym with the H now instead of the normal arm when I'm trying to text.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's a problem.
Boy, are my arms tired.
Yeah. Right.
Great. Oh man. Oh, well. Okay. So Sam, from a clinical standpoint, we're talking about flexibility versus control, and that flexibility that comes with being an independent contractor. So when you can't tell the contractor like how to run a session or document your notes, which clients to take, all that kind of stuff, how do you maintain consistency with that and the expectations?
Well, and I love this question. I got asked this question by a judge in an unemployment hearing.
Okay.
He literally said, well, why do they do what you tell them to do? Because my staff do what I tell them to do. And it's because I am forced to actually make sense. I don't get to say, hey, use this crappy spatula because it's the cheap spatula that I got from Goodwill and it's what we have. I say, hey, I bought this really awesome spatula. It's weighted perfectly. The metal is just the perfect, quality to slip under the burger and flip it with no resist, all, whatever silly infomercial style thing that you want to imagine for that.
Yeah.
I have to go to that level. I don't get to go, write the note this way because I told you. I have to go and I have to explain, first off, legally, what is in a note. And I'll tell you, I will say this, I'm assuming if anyone in your audience has never actually looked at the law, what is legally in a progress note, that's an issue right there. We don't even know. Most of us are all working on tradition. It's just, hey, here's the tradition that we were handed down by our school and our providers, the person we interned with, and the company's policies. And we're just, okay, you guys told us to do it that way. We do it that way because that's what we do. Well, there's actually law about this. And I'm not a lawyer. Nothing I say is legal advice. I do have to preface that.
We'll get that on another podcast.
Yeah. Give me a couple years and I might be a lawyer. So you never know. But as far as I can tell, right now, the law, if you're talking about outpatient therapy, which is what most of your guys' listeners are, you are bound by your ethics board, which has, in your ethics thing, it says do this. I'm an LMFT, by the way. I don't know if we mentioned that.
Haven't yet. No. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist here in Minnesota. And so I've looked at mine, and I don't remember it offhand, but the rules are something like you have to identify the client, the date the service was provided, have a conceptual diagnosis of what's... I don't think you even need a diagnosis. I think you need to have a treatment plan. And then you need to have a note that says, this is what we talked about. And that is incredibly vague. Yeah. That is, and don't quote me, right? Because you go back and look at the ethics code. It's actually there, but it's about that simple. I have never found any other legal documentation that tells you what's in a note. This is different in Medicaid, which the service that I do, ARMS, is a Medicaid service. Right. And so Medicaid, obviously, because it's got the federal dollars involved, that has tons of strings attached. And so they actually did write this stuff into statute. So now I'm going to get into a progress note according to Medicaid, which this is statute 245I 08 subdivision 4, I believe. If anyone wants to check in Minnesota.
Subdivision 5. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Right. A progress note essentially is, there's the date, the name, the service, the time, location, that kind of stuff. But the core of a note is what intervention or what objective were you targeting from the treatment plan? What intervention did you use? And what was the client's response? And so I had to be able to go back and figure that out. Like, that's what the note is. So I went and then I go and I educate my staff, because all of this is right. This is back to, I can't tell a contractor what to do. I have to go, contractor, the government says you have to do these 3 things.
Sure. Yep.
And if you do these 3 things, this is that thing about flipping the burger. If you do these 3 things, you flipped the burger, I pay you. I don't get to decide what constitutes those 3 things.
Sure.
So then I've got the 3 things, and now we're both staring at each other, and we're like, and this is my favorite one. I've brought this up a ton of times with the government. What is the definition of a client response? And Jim, you're licensed, right?
Yeah.
What is the definition of a client response to an intervention?
Wow. I'm going to say it's ambiguous, but
that would be the correct legal answer as far as I know.
Perfect.
There is no definition that I have, and I've talked to my lawyers about this. Yeah. There is no definition that I've found of what a client response to the intervention is. So one time, because I'm a snarky guy and I like to ruffle feathers,
stir things up. Yeah.
I went to the government and I literally said, well, would good or bad suffice? They didn't appreciate that. They did not see the humor in my question.
Yeah, not quite in the spirit of things.
Right.
Oh my God.
Now, I have never been willing to test that theory as to whether or not that would actually qualify on an audit.
Okay.
But it proves my point. We don't even know. So they don't know either. So then what I did is I came out and I was like, I polled other professionals, other people in the field, and I said, hey, well, what actually, what do you think it should be? And, people had ideas, and different people, we all know in the field, everyone has different ideas. So I got a general sense, and there was kind of this general concept of, well, in terms of response to the intervention, you're basically talking about, well, one, was it positive or negative for the client, right? There's a lot of people talked about that. Did they understand it, right? Whether or not did it land, or were they like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, which I've gotten a few times from clients. Another one was, what was the actual outcome from the intervention? So those three things I pretty much took, and I said, hey, okay, so what if I just codified that the way that, if someone had, I'm going to ruffle some feathers, if someone who had written the statute had thought about this in any way, would have done by putting it into the statute. So I just did it. I just was like, all right, I'll make a concept, not a rule, but like, hey, to me, this is what fulfills the standard of client response. And then I educate my staff about that. And then they have a choice now. Now they can go and they can either do this very simple thing that I said, which is, hey, how well did they understand it? How, did they appreciate it? Was it a positive or negative experience for them? And what was the actual outcome? They could write those very three short, they're half sentences, basically, or they could try and make it up themselves.
Right. Okay.
Do you think that if I'm sitting here and I pay well because I take all the tax money that I would have saved on taxes with W-2s, and I just hand that to my contractors and then let them pay their taxes, which is to the tax game, very beneficial to my contractors if they know what they're doing. And I do recommend they all get accountants. But do you think, you're getting paid above average wages for this work? Are you going to just do this very reasonable thing that I just told you to do that's very simple? Or are you going to go and are you going to read the statute, which I've now told you where you can go and read it, and figure out, hey, I want to do this uniquely myself? That's...
Yeah.
What do you think most people would do?
Well, you're providing them the pavement. They're driving the car, it sounds like.
Yes, exactly. And that is the nature of employing contractors. You can get contractors to do exactly what you want them to do. Make it the best thing that they could possibly do. And there's an old story about this. There's I heard it as it was a Chinese general, but I'm sure it's in every single culture. Some culture, there was a general and the king comes to the general, and this general is like the greatest general, and the soldiers are doing amazing feats and they're winning all these fights. And he's like, how do you do it? How do you get these soldiers to go and fight these wars and put their lives at risk? And the general says, I only tell them to do the things that they want to do. And that's what it is. No one in mental health wants to write a ridiculous progress note.
Right.
And when you come down and you say to somebody, hey, I've now told you, just because of my authority as your boss, to, move your hand in this motion. Well, now it's typing, right? Type your fingers in this motion and create this line of information because I arbitrarily told you as an authority figure to do it. No one appreciates that.
Right.
No one appreciates that at all. But if you come in and you say, hey, if you write this arbitrary line of data, you get paid. People like that. That's the monkey's experiment, where it's like, hey, I'll give you a grape if you do this thing, and those monkeys are happy to do it.
Yep.
Maybe not the best metaphor to have used in this context, but
you got a lot of metaphors going.
Right. But it really comes down to, what kind of relationship do you want to have with your staff? Do you want to be the guy who is enforcing, or do you want to be the guy who's encouraging?
Okay. Yeah. Quite the distinction.
Yeah.
So let's talk money a little bit. Shift gears here. And, so this is where I see practice owners talk themselves into a decision that doesn't always hold up. And you also kind of alluded to this earlier with how, paying contractors versus W-2 employees. So I'm just wondering, Sam, can you expand on that a little bit? And just let us know, anything else to add to that.
Yeah. So one of the things that I have found fascinating, and I actually learned this when I was at periods in owning a business where I would offer jobs to friends. I have a lot of friends in mental health, and I'd be like, hey, it's not any different for me to just have you plug in and do therapy here under my stuff. And one of the biggest things is you as the employer can calculate exactly how much their tax is. You know exactly to the penny, if you want, how much your staff costs. So now, right, you've got a concept of let's just say $20 an hour. And I mean, let's just say that taxes are 1/3, which I think is about approximately right. I mean, I'd have to get my accountant to do. He does that. I don't do these. I don't crunch the numbers that closely. But so it's just 1/3. So 1/3 of $20 an hour is, what is that? $6. So that staff member costs you $26 an hour for every hour that they work, right? So now I can go and I can sit down and I can say, cool, they're my W-2 and they actually cost me $26 an hour. When I'm paying them 20, they don't like hearing 20 because 20 feels low, even though they actually cost 26. Whereas if I just paid them 26 and let them handle their own taxes, they feel like they're making a lot more money, which they can be, again, like I said. But so from the employer's side, you got to start looking at all those other things, right? Now you're managing their HR benefits.
Yep.
Now you're handling
all the operational costs.
Yep. Now you're handling, you have to handle their training, because contractors, you don't handle their training. That's their training. They do it. And I mean, you can still give it to them if you want to for free, but they're the ones who have to get their own training. They're the ones who have to handle all of that stuff. All of the time that a business owner spent learning about what HR, or not what your health plan is, and going, how do I decide between these 5 health plans that some agent is now offering to me? All that time is back in your pocket. You don't have to do any of that. And then on that particular factor, right, health insurance benefits factor, here's the other thing that I say. If you want, and there are people who need W-2 employment for the health insurance and the benefits. If you need to just be handed something and it's all done and it's all nicely, hey, yep, it's a plug and play. You got your job. Now you have your health insurance. You got your benefits. Do that. Go to a company that there's a million companies out there that'll give you that.
Yeah.
If you are the kind of person who wants to say, you know what, I am a single 30-year-old who doesn't have kids and doesn't have any known expensive health costs, you can make some of your own choices about your health insurance. And you can choose to spend a lot of money or a little bit of money on that health insurance. And in that another part, like I said, about the control and the flexibility, I have never had a conversation with my staff about whether or not their health care is meeting their needs, right? Because I'm not involved.
Right.
I don't have anything to say about it. And there's a lot of people who really appreciate that. I don't think an employer should be involved in our healthcare decisions. I don't care. I've had employers and I don't care what they think about my healthcare. That's between me and my doctor. Right. So there's that. So to get to your point, right, you're getting your time back on all of those HR things, all of the training, the benefits, managing all that stuff, which is the worst part of HR. Well, the second worst part of HR. The next thing is you're not dealing with taxes anymore. So you're not really, if you're doing what I'm doing, which is, like I said, if you're paying somebody $20, I would just be like, hey, you actually cost me 26. I'm just going to pay you 26. You figure it out. That's all it is. It's just this flat number. Yeah. There's not like this, hey, I'm paying you $20, but then there's this weird $6 that I also have to pay. And then above the $6 on taxes, there's all of the numbers of like, well, how much does the healthcare actually cost to this individual staff member? And you can calculate out those numbers if you really want, or you can just have a simple flat number of, you get $26 an hour. Go have fun. And so again, your time back in your pocket, you don't have an administrator. So you're not paying somebody $40,000 to $60,000 a year to administer all of this data that you don't have to collect. And then on the contractor side, they can make money. And like I said, they need an accountant. If you are a contractor who is making more than like $10,000 a year, you need an accountant.
Yeah, we recommend that for everybody to get an accountant.
There's a reason rich people have accountants, and it's because accountants make you money. If accountants didn't make you money, rich people wouldn't have them. And so, you know, there's a certain point, there is a certain income where it doesn't make sense. Like if you're really, really low, like $10,000, $20,000 or something like that. But if you're making $50,000 to $100,000, a good accountant who knows what they're doing will save you tax dollars. And they will make you money. So I get my staff, and I have an accountant that I refer them to. If they don't have their own accountant, I want them all to have an accountant, and I go through and I'm like, here's how you actually can make more money as a contractor. So you're getting this $26 an hour. And again, we're just using that as a figure. I pay a lot more than 26. I start above 26. So, here you're getting this $26 an hour. And first off, you need to have a home office. So that means some portion of your rent or mortgage, or if you own the house free and clear, you would be renting your house. So then the business would be paying part of that. So paying in for the space. That is now a tax write-off. So for example, I think my rent right now is $1,600 a month, and I have a 1-bedroom apartment, and I turned the 1-bedroom into the office. So it is exclusively used for business, which is, you know, how many auditors are actually going to check whether or not you exclusively use it for business? I don't know. But I could legitimately say that bedroom, legitimately just an office, right? It's not my living room. So I can say that I think something like 250 square feet of my apartment is actual business use only. So that means, and let's just say that my apartment is 1,000 square feet. I don't know what it is, but so 25%, 25% of my rent, tax deductible. 25% of my utilities, tax deductible. 25% of my phone bill, probably tax. I don't know so much about the phone, but I'm pretty sure that my internet is like, you know, 25% of all of this stuff. Now you got to think about, well, what's in your home office? You got a chair. If you didn't go to Goodwill, you're probably talking about $100 chair.
Let's write that up.
I happen to have a $2,000 chair.
Nice
I went into Herman Miller and, you know, got one of their like crazy ergonomic ones, and I will tell you it was one of the best investments I've ever made.
Well, that's what I said about LASIK.
And so then, you know, you got your chair, you need a desk, unless you're getting that for free, that's going to cost another couple $100. Oh, you need a computer, that's going to cost you know, if you don't buy a cheap one, more than $1,000, you're going to need to buy maybe a printer. I mean, I don't know if you happen to have, you know, maybe you need a printer. I know as an actual business owner, not just a contractor who's, you know, doing this one thing, I do have to have a printer. You're going to have Windows or some kind of operating system. You're going to have Microsoft Office. You're going to have, and you can just see
all those operational
you can just see this going. And then for your mental health staff, you know, did you buy a book about mental health? Oh, that $20 book, turns out that's a tax deduction. You bought Brene Brown's Daring Greatly, or I can't remember her exact title, but you bought, okay, cool, that whole book, tax write-off. And then you start to see how quickly you can drop your tax bracket. And so you suddenly go from I'm just going to assume, I hope most mental health people are making around, licensed people are making $80,000 a year these days. I'm hoping. I don't know. I don't talk a ton to I mostly work with unlicensed folk, so you can immediately see how 25% of 1,600 is 250, about let's just say $300. So $300 a month, so 300 times 12, there's $3,600. And then, you start talking about, oh, my computer cost $1,000. Oh, my chair and my desk, let's say another 500,
Mm-hmm.
on and on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get that $80,000 a year thing, which is, you got to pay some taxes on that. You can drop that down to $55,000 if you know what you're doing. If you ever do, and this is the beautiful thing, right? And again, anyone, please talk to an accountant. Do not trust anything I said. I am not an accountant, nor am I a lawyer, like I said.
But here are the concepts.
Yeah,
Right?
but here are the concepts. Go talk to your accountants about this to learn. You go out to lunch with somebody and you're like, hey, I want to talk to you about offering you a job. Great. That whole meal, tax deductible.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of stuff. You go and you want your CEUs, tax deductible. You're thinking, oh, hey, I want to bring a DBT into my clinic. So you go and you get DBT training, tax deductible, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff just starts coming in and it starts reducing what you actually had to pay.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly you are paying way less taxes than if you would be if you had been a W-2.
Right. You're getting close to that actual $26 an hour.
Yep. Oh, you took there was a class in Hawaii that you really, really wanted to, check out, and it was only offered in Hawaii. So you got to go to Hawaii.
Yep.
Gotta go.
Class.
Turns out that plane, and again, you double check with accountants on that one, because I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah.
But if you can say that the whole trip was business business related, I think you can. So.
Yeah. And that's the heuristic, right? Is if you can make a justifiable explanation of how this is connected to your business, then you can generally write it off. Check with your accountant.
I know of a gentleman who was teaching or was doing therapy stuff on like gun safety. Well, he had to get some safety training for that.
Got that. You can probably write off some of the guns you use for that.
Probably
training.
the ammunition, and same thing. If you were into a sport and you wanted to write an article about and this is getting into some of the weirder stuff. You do have to check with an accountant. But let's say you really love pickleball and you want to write an article about the psychology of pickleball that you're going to get paid for.
Yeah.
Maybe because the Right Tack is now going to put out a website and have paid for articles.
Yeah.
And
pickleball.
The psychology of pickleball, and boom, it is crazy what you can do. I don't ever do anything, always check with an accountant.
There you go. Yeah.
The other thing I'm thinking about too is doing a presentation on the psychology of pickleball or something. It's like you could apply for CEUs too with that.
Yep.
There you go.
You could create a couples pickleball model.
Psychological model.
Yeah.
Right.
And
or an MFT model.
Right. And look, you've already got the built-in audience of the pickleball people. I know how many friends do I have that they're like, I lost my spouse to pickleball. I'm not a pickleball person.
I don't have a one.
Oh my gosh.
I don't either.
It's crazy to me.
Oh,
I have a friend whose husband is just like, if he's not doing something that's work related or spending time with her or the kids, it's pickleball.
It's pickleball.
Huh. So whatever.
Wow. Tie it all together.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we shift a little bit? And I've got this question about misclassification.
Yes. So that's the big boogeyman. That's the scary part of contractors versus W-2s.
Right.
And you do have to be ready for it if you're using contractors.
Okay.
So what happens is there is and it's a legal framework that the state of Minnesota uses to decide whether or not your relationship is a W-2 or a contractor relationship. And it doesn't matter what your contract says. It doesn't matter, like how much you are all like, yes, we're contractors. We've talked about this a million times. It's based on the actual reality of the relationship. So the 5 factors, if I can remember, I might not get them all, but the 5 factors are basically, do you control what they're doing? That was can I tell you to flip the burger how I want you to, or is it just the burger got flipped?
Okay.
Maybe I needed the burger to have a triple flip. right? Whatever, something stupid.
There,
like
that's
that,
written
right?
in the contract details there. Yeah.
Right. So that, how much control do you have over like what they do, who they can do it with? So like with mental health, it's, can you tell them to take a client or can you tell them to fire a client? If you can, they're a W-2. If you, another big one is where. If you can tell them you have to be at this location at this time, that's another factor.
Okay.
The next one, I mean, one would be, can they write off their expenses? So, all those things that we talked about, if you're a W-2, you don't get to write off your expense. If and this goes into it too. If there's a tool that they need to use, you as the employer with a W-2 is providing that tool. You're saying use this laptop, not buy your own laptop and bring it. Right. That's a difference there. I feel like there's one other one that I'm missing offhand, but
is this into the supervision versus consultation thing? Or is that more to tell you what to
that's
do?
going to be in the controlling factor. But so, and if somebody wants to look it up or ever wants to call me, I mean, you can reach out to me. I'll plug myself here, www.armsnetwork.com. My email is sam@fenrisinc.com. Fenris is my consulting business. So Fenris, Fenris.
Awesome. Okay. And what is Fenris, out of curiosity?
Fenris is it's a Norse. I don't know if it's actually technically a god, but it's in the Norse mythology. It's a son of Loki and a giantess whose name I don't recall offhand. This is Wikipedia knowledge, by the way, not because I'm some kind of Norse god.
I don't have the bookshelf full.
Yeah, right. But the story of Fenris basically goes that, so it's a wolf and it's the son of Loki and this giantess. So it's got god blood or whatever. It's in the god lineage. And it's just getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, and it just keeps growing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger until finally the good gods, because Fenris is kind of on the bad god side, the good gods are like, hey, we should do something about this before this thing gets bigger and then eats the whole world, which I think Fenris actually does eat the sun during Ragnarok, but I might be wrong on that one.
Seems about.
Yeah. So then they get involved and they, get some magic chains and they chain it up or something. And then at the end of the world, Fenris breaks the chains and gets out and contributes to Ragnarok. But the part that I really loved about it was, Fenris in the process of getting chained up, the gods are there. You've got Thor and you've got Odin and you've got Tyr, Tyr, and he is the god of, if I remember Wikipedia correctly, he is the god of war and law in Norse mythology, and which I think is really interesting that they combine those. Yeah. And Fenris bites the right hand off of Tyr in the process of them chaining him up. And I really liked that concept because I am a feather ruffler. I am the person who's going to go to the government and say, good, bad. That's
there you go.
Yeah. And so I know that I'm going to lose some of my fights, but I really hope that I get to bite a hand off as I'm losing them. Like, I'll still leave my mark. And I would say that anyone who hasn't involved themselves in arms in Minnesota has definitely felt the results of things that I have done, even ones who've never heard of me. In fact, I got a law changed a couple years ago. It was the law about you had to certify with the county, directly with the county. So the county was able to, you had to go in and say, hey, I'm
another controlling entity.
Yeah. And there was it made sense when all this stuff got written in like 2000. It did not make sense in 2020. And so I just went and, got it sponsored. And, I was the one who got it pushed through. There was someone else who did the work with the politicians, but I was the one who was like, hey, let's get rid of this. So, that right there, I've left my mark. So that was Fenris.
Okay.
All
right.
We were talking, you were asking me about
The misclassification.
Misclassification,
Yeah.
right. Okay, so with misclassifications, there's those factors, right? And so one of the biggest problems is you'll have someone, you've hired them, and they go, they're doing whatever they do, and they go, and then they quit, or they get let go, and then they want to apply for unemployment because they're like, well, I was working for you, I deserve unemployment. Well, contractors don't get unemployment, and that's something I really, if you're going to go with contractors, you have to tell them that up front. It is unethical to not explain to people you do not have the protection of unemployment benefits.
Right.
And that's again why there are people out there who contract work is not for them. If you cannot take that risk, you have family that depends on you, you have medical needs that cannot, you can't handle a 3-month, period of complete unknown finances. You need to have unemployment benefits and things like that. So then somebody will try and they'll be like, no, I deserve to get unemployment benefits. Even if you've done what I do, which is completely explained fully up front, you don't get these. This is part of the deal. You get paid more, you have more flexibility, you don't get these protections like unemployment benefits, paid time off, etc. And so then they file and they say, hey, we want unemployment. And then Minnesota unemployment is going to come back and look at you and say, hey, this person deserves unemployment. You need to prove that they were a contractor if you think they don't. It's not, they'll just, and I should say, I don't know this for a fact. This is my understanding and this is my experience, but they're going to just assume that they're a W-2 and you misclassified them. And so then you have to go and prove it, which means you have to have the documentation, which means you need to have done it up front. You needed to have, the contract was 100% clear. The contract didn't sit there and say things like, oh, hey, I can tell you how to do your job. It was, here is the output that you're going to have, and here's what I'm going to pay you if the output is performed. And again, talk to lawyers about this.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a whole bunch of people to talk to after this one.
Right. I say that more than I ever thought I would in my life now. I want to be a lawyer just so I can stop saying it.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of too beyond that. It's just it just speaks to the importance of some of this, like this business, this legal, like this framework that we exist in and work or build our practices and our businesses in, that you do need to have these resources available to you.
So one of the things that, if I can just go on a tangent with that one.
Yeah, let her rip.
So when you walk into a grocery store and the doors open on the motion sensors,
yeah,
how that all works is controlled, in my opinion. I don't know that there's like research on this, but in my opinion, that is controlled by a law from like 1912. Like I don't remember what exact year it was. I can get it to you later if you want. There's a really famous case. And if you go through and you understand, you read through the case, and there is a majority opinion and a dissenting opinion. And it basically came down to who is responsible if 15 bizarre Rube Goldberg-like devices all came together and someone got hurt. And that law controls things that we have no concept of in our day-to-day life. And like things about like bus doors, like, when you're on the bus, how the bus door works, somehow that law colored how that got designed, because if the bus door accidentally closed on you and hurt you, whose fault is that? Right. If the bus door accidentally closed on you and it caused you to trip and you dropped something that exploded because you were carrying fireworks for some bizarre reason, and the fireworks shot off and hit somebody else in the face, who's legally responsible? Your fault for sitting there and getting pinched by the door? Your fault for carrying fireworks? The bus company's fault for having a door that could pinch you? There's laws that we don't understand that control us every day.
Yeah.
So thank you for letting me go on that tangent, because I love it. It's Paul's graph. I'm pretty sure the case is Paul's graph.
Oh, appropriate.
How about that?
Yeah. And it was about that bizarre. It was about a train and fireworks and explosions and things falling on people. It's nuts.
Huh.
Okay. So law. What did I?
Well, so what are the most common ways that you see behavioral health practices accidentally misclassifying people?
Right.
Oh.
The misclassifying thing. Well, basically it's that, hey, you are telling someone what to do.
Sure.
And it's the thing that we talked about at the start. And the way that I would describe that, the elevator speech version I have for that is, you can only tell them a method. You can educate them about a method. You cannot tell them which method to use. It gets back to, did you tell them what the outcome was and then let them decide how they wanted to get there? Or did you tell them how to get there? And if they didn't perform how you wanted them to get to that outcome, you fired them or you punished them or something like that. The same thing with, hey, you don't want to take this client that I need someone to take. If you make them take that client, if you pressure them into that, that's a W-2.
Okay.
And so now the key there, though, is, remember, with a W-2, you have an investment. You've spent training, you've spent the benefits, you spent taxes, all of this stuff and money getting them there so that they can do their thing. With a contractor, all we did was a handshake. Hey, you don't want to take this client? Don't take the client. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. Now, sometimes that means I have to go back to clients or case managers and I have to say, hey, I don't have anyone for this person right now. And then what I do, because I'm a good person, at least in my mind, is I go to that and I'm like, let me help you get to another clinic that can service your needs. And there's always another clinic out there. I mean, all we have to do is call somebody up and be like, hey, you got any openings? And it's not difficult.
Plenty of openings out there for sure. Yeah.
And so, I mean, you have to be willing to do that. And I think it's really important for entrepreneurs out there. A really big piece of advice that I got and that has served me very well as I have grown and shrunk over the last 7 years that I've owned a business. If you're willing to grow, you have to be willing to shrink. If you are not willing to shrink, you are not in a position to be able to grow, because whenever you grow, there's going to be new difficulties that show up that you never thought of until you got to that size. I think you guys both know you go from that. Yeah, you go from 2 to 5 employees. You're like, how different could this possibly be? Oh my gosh.
The complexity in that.
The communication. Yeah. 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20. It's right now I'm at this, well, do we want to try and get above 40? And I'm just like, I don't know that I want to deal with whatever the problem is at 60.
Yeah. 50 is the big number.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where the laws change.
And the laws change, all that stuff. And I'm like, I don't know that I'm up for that. I think my entrepreneurial side of that is like, I'm done. Someone else has to champion that case.
Yep.
Yeah. But so back to the misclassification thing, though, it's that another thing would be forcing them to use tools. So now a really interesting part of that is I actually had a case in front of the state of Minnesota, and the issue of tools got brought up. I have provided a HIPAA compliant email to my staff, and I have an EHR, right? So am I forcing them to use those things? That's where the question came down. I don't force my staff to use the email. I make it available. This is that thing. I made it available to them, and it was the most convenient and easy thing for them to possibly do.
Right.
But I told them, and I have clear documented evidence of this. If they write a progress note on a cocktail napkin in crayon and mail it to me, or somehow transmit it to me in a HIPAA compliant manner, I am obligated to take it and pay it. It's as simple as that. If they want to, I mean, I don't know who would do that.
Right.
But if they wanted to, they could.
That's how they flip the burger.
Yeah. And so that's and I mean, within the legal world, I think some of that is going to come down to, what judge you get and how well you are at presenting. I mean, I do a pretty good job presenting, I think, presenting this case anyways. But it comes down to that level of nuance. And if you are going to use contractors, you need to understand those nuances.
Well, okay. I'm thinking a couple of things, so inviting them to use your HIPAA compliant email. Well, if they don't, and they use their own email, it needs to be HIPAA compliant. And can you tell them that? And
the law tells them
the
that.
law. See, okay.
Remember,
you keep getting going back to the law.
Every piece of solid authority has to come from some external source, like the law.
The law. Okay.
I didn't say this.
So does that? I want to get into the supervision part.
Mhm.
You know, like for an LAMFT.
Yep.
It's the board of MF Marriage and Family that dictates what they need to be doing. Am I getting this right, Sam?
Yep.
Okay. That's how you present it.
Yeah, and so when you start getting into that, because it brings up the term supervision is a huge issue too, Paul. Like you said, you know, what are common things? The word supervision, huge red flag. Unemployment is going to go supervised. Well, you're telling them what to do.
Yeah, you're a supervisor then. And
yep, you're a supervisor.
Right.
I actually had to change the name of treatment supervision plan to treatment consultation plan for this reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it's ridiculous. I shouldn't have had to do this, but I had to go and I had to show the statutes. Again, I happen to, with Medicaid, I live in these statutes. I think you guys can tell.
Mm-hmm.
I had to go in and I had to show the statute and I had to explain it to this judge who has no concept of mental health at all. And I had to explain, like, look, this is what happens in supervision. It is not, one, I'm not forcing them to be supervised. The government's forcing them to be supervised.
Yeah.
Or the board is, or whatever. Some other thing is forcing it, and I'm just happening to facilitate it. And then two, the issue is I am not telling them how to perform therapy. Or in my case, more often is ARMS, but I'm not telling them how to work with a client. They are consulting with me, and I am giving them advice, and I am helping them understand the legal boundaries. Like, hey, you can't sleep with a client. That's not a, there's, I can say, here's a law that's putting a boundary on you. You can't do unethical tests without informing, well, you can't do unethical tests anyways, but you can't do testing on them without informing them, stuff like that. Those are the laws that are forcing them. But otherwise, I'm saying, well, you've got this situation. Maybe you want to use a CBT skill for this. Maybe you want to conceptualize this in a narrative therapy, concept. And here's how you might want to do that. But I didn't tell you to go into that room and then do this technique. And that, again, it's a mindset. If you are in the mindset that you are in charge and you are not equals, which to some level an intern is not an equal. I mean, we have to acknowledge that, right? But if you think that if you can tell someone what to do, they're not a contractor. And a really easy way I think I would explain this for someone who's like, because you're looking at me, Jim, and I'm like, how you would do this in real life when you're like, I'm not used to this. This is a weird way to think about it. When you hire a plumber, you say, fix my toilet. You don't say, I want you to use this specific brand of Roto-Rooter to get in there, right? Or you can only use wrenches that you bought at Lowe's.
Yeah.
Right? Like, no, you say, hey, plumber, come in, give me a quote. And if we agree, we agree.
Right.
And that's contractors.
Okay.
Contractors are, hey, person, mental health professional, you and I agree that if you do this stuff and it outputs into this, I get the documentation that I can send to billing, then great. And one of the places that I have, and I have this in documents, one of the things that I've said is, so here's my explanation, like I said at the start, of how you write a progress note. If you want to do something else, here's all of the statutes. You can go and look and you can figure it out and come and tell me, and then do it. And then I still have to look at it, right? Because I deal with unlicensed people mostly. And so I have to look at it and I have to approve it from a clinical point of view. But the thing is I have said, if you think your stuff meets criteria, the legal criteria, not my fantasy made up criteria, if it meets the legal criteria and I didn't think it did, please come and show me the statutes, bring me back, walk me through how you got there. And if my lawyers agree
there you go,
that this meets legal criteria, I will submit it in billing and I will be happy to take it.
Yeah.
And then this is another part too, I think, that is crucial when you talk about the value. It's not directly money, but the value of contractors versus W-2s. With a W-2, you're never going to have someone, unless you just magically get that magic employee, that unicorn employee, that's going to go, I really want to make a better progress note.
Okay, right.
Have you heard that yet?
Yeah. It's like, okay.
You're not,
No.
with a contractor, now you have inspired every single one of your contractors. If they can come up with a better way to do it and they can come and show it to you, you've got a whole team of people. Now, probably 80% of them are not going to care because most people don't, and that's okay. But a few of them are going to be like, there's a better way to do this. Mm-hmm. And they're going to be oppositional and they're going to want to fight with you. And if you're somebody who needs authority to get everything done, that person, you don't want them at your company at all. You get them out because they're annoying and they ruin your life. But if you're the kind of company that I'm running with contractors, those are the people I want to hire. Those are the people who are like, hey, you want to do something better? You are free to do that. All I want you to do is share it with me. And I will say this on another point too, because I think this comes up. Another reason why most people want to be an employee over a contractor is because most company owners are going to do stuff like, if you built something under my company, I own it. Right? That's in a lot of contracts. I don't have that in my contract. What I did instead is, and I don't have a non-compete, not that I don't think non-competes are legal in Minnesota anymore, but I took that stuff out of my contracts. And what I said was, if you make something, that I've paid you to make, right? Like, so, hey, you, while working for me as a contractor, you made a better progress note. The only thing that I get is I get to continue using it. Mm-hmm. Like, you can go and you can sell it. You do whatever. It's your thing. You made it. I'm going to respect that unless I specifically contracted with you to say, I am contracting you to make this thing that you can't sell. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Go do whatever you want to do with it, man. Yeah. And again, now I have staff who, if they wanted to, if they had that desire, they're going to go and they're going to create their own stuff. I created the playground that they could be in, and they could make money and they could fulfill their passion, instead of I'm the employer who forces them to do quotas and makes them, you have to do all the stupid things now. So, and when I do have to make people do stupid things like, CEs and things like that, it's always, well, I'm not, dude, I don't care. The government made you do this. And I can directly show them the government is making you do this. I'm not making you do this. I'm just the one who's reminding you that if you don't do it, you stop being able to make income.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that gets in, what you're getting into really is talking about the culture and the clinic and, and some of the clinical quality you get with the progress notes and everything. So how do you see the culture and clinical quality changing as a result of, and I got to say too, it'll be interesting. I'm sure somewhere out there, someone's gonna be like, no, not contractors. W-2 is the way to go.
Yeah.
So if you're out there, let me know. It'd be interesting to hear the counterpoint to this. But from your standpoint, Sam, from your perspective, how does how does it tell me more about the culture, clinical quality, like what you got there? Yeah.
Biggest thing that I have seen is that I am able to have a wide variety and diversity of people working for me, and we all get along. That's I know.
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
That is the thing, because
that's all anybody wants.
I'm not gonna name names, but there was a company that was very, very liberal in Minnesota, and they were doing very, very liberal things with their clinic, and that's cool. I mean, I'm not against that at all. But I know someone who worked for them who was very conservative, very religious conservative. Mm-hmm. And the culture clash was severe. And the person felt like they had to hide everything. The staff member that I am aware, they felt they had to hide everything. They would sit in supervision meetings and just feel completely insulted by how things were handled, because it was that the polarization the whole country's been dealing with, and it was replicated right in that company. I don't have that, because again, there isn't that subordinate thing. When the people that I bring together, and when they come together, they're there because they want to be there, because it's a comfortable, flexible thing, and they could leave at any moment. And which also one other thing is, I'm very aware it's the relationship between them and the client. If they want to go, I'm aware their clients are going to go with them.
Right.
Any company that thinks they can keep
Continuation.
clients that's not a good sign, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But those differences, people were allowed to have them. Sometimes they get voiced, sometimes they don't. I do know that in my company we have a fairly wide variety of like political opinions, but also just demographics. We have a wide variety of that as well. And that camaraderie has helped when we've had staff so from the clinical side, has helped when we've had staff that ended up working with somebody that wasn't their most comfortable population. And it allowed people to come together and talk about it and be like, hey, help me understand why this parent can't get over their trans kid, or help me understand, why my kid is here, protesting ICE, and here I'm like, we need to do law and order stuff, whatever the hot button was.
Sure.
And it wasn't forced. It was a natural, organic process where people would go and be like, hey, I need some help, help me understand what's going on. So
I see your common thread at Apollo is different than a lot of common threads of how a lot of other practices work. I mean, you're taking it more from a, you are contractors, and I'm going to take the time to make sure you understand what that means. You are independent.
Yep.
And that is good. And yes, we can work together, but at the same time, you're enabling them to be their own person, their own provider.
Yep. Well, and they're responsible for their own success and failure. That is, and I think that's one of the things too. If I, as I say that, people who don't want to be to be responsible for their own success and failure, W-2 is a much better way to go. That company will hand you the computer, they will hand you the client, they will hand you the policies, and they will say, do it. And then if you don't make your quota, they're going to come to you and they're going to tell you, make your quota. What's wrong? What can we do to help support you with your quota? Right? That's not going to happen here. If somebody comes into Apollo and they suck with clients for whatever reason, they just don't make any money, and eventually they leave.
Yeah.
And it's not, and again, that's not a negative. It's not a, dude, you suck, get out of my company. I have people who work for me that see 2 clients. That's it. They're moonlighting with me.
Because you've got no operational skin in the game.
Nothing, right? So they can come they can come and they can do their thing, and that this is something they do on the weekends, and they have a normal job 9 to 5, and they like doing this on the weekends, and then they collect the money, and then they can give their kids a better Christmas. And that's great. I make money, they make money, everyone's happy. Clients get served. So yeah, it is a really different mindset.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm thinking about kind of top down, which is what you're talking about with W-2s versus this shared culture that I'm hearing, and I'm also hearing it's not forced, on your part, that you're embracing this independence of being an independent contractor, along with there is some, well, I call it magic. I don't know, the magic of having some glue where, people do have a shared identity when they're working with you. I mean, is that okay?
And and I got to push back a little bit on the W-2, because you're putting a very narrow frame on that.
I am.
As a W-2 employer, I feel like we've got a real great culture here at Breezy too, and so can't knock that either. And
it's a different, and yes, it is all, and it's a different environment, and there's spaces for everyone. And that's one of the things I actually say to people when they come in on job interviews. If what I'm creating here, doesn't fit, and it's an alternative style. If it doesn't fit, Nystrom's right across the street.
Yeah.
No, there are a million W2. This is
Sure.
one of the things where I'm like, and this is me. I am the guy who said, hey, we need to have a place for an alternative style of doing things. I am not, I'm a very talkative guy, as you guys can tell.
Really?
Yeah, this guy.
Right? You might be surprised. I don't manage to not talk, or I don't. When I do therapy, I am fairly talkative. If I am talking less than 50% of the time, that's pretty unusual for me, which I think is very unusual for most therapy.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and I've had people who come and they're like, Sam, you can't do that. You can't be as directive as you are. Or you can't, put as much of your own stuff into the mix of what's going on in therapy. And I look at them and I say, this client would never go to you. This client would never talk to you. They would see you once.
Talking about fit again.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And that I heard that with the staffer that was working at the liberal clinic, is the importance of fit. And this ties into, I can't remember which podcast was too far back, but like just taking the time to introspect on yourself and your practice and what you want it to be, because then you can then hang your sign out there like, this is what we are. I think that was. Yeah.
And if you go to my website for the clinic, www.apollomentalhealth.com, you are going to go and you're going to see a black website with dark red and yellow.
Okay.
I have never seen a mental health clinic have a black website.
We do talk about, there's a certain feel you usually get for the behavioral health websites.
Yes. So, and originally
lavender or green.
I had went with one of the companies that's like, yeah, we'll make your behavioral health website. And they wanted to do all of the normals. I was like, this looks like everyone else's. Yeah. I'm not everyone else. And that's not what I wanted to project. And when I started Apollo, what really mattered to me was I wanted to show that it was possible to do something different. It was possible to pay staff well, and it was possible to really honor and respect every single staff's independence and their individual style, because that was something for me. I think you can imagine I've run into that in corporate environments. I would show up and I'd be like, hey, you're telling me to do this thing, but why? And that didn't go down well in hierarchical structures. And I will say, Paul, to what you said, there are a ton of really good W2 things. I gotta
push that out there. Get that out there. He's on the record.
It's just
can be.
I know that I want the environment that I
yours.
Want to have.
Yep, and that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. Well, I don't know, Sam, you got the perspective of someone who actually runs this model, which we appreciate. And it's been good chatting with you about this a lot. And it's interesting to hear also about Fenris, what you're using for your consulting on the consulting side and helping people out with that. So to find someone who's both, doing something unique and consulting on it is really cool. You don't always find that.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, that's for sure. Maybe can I go back to like liability?
Liability?
That kind of thing. It's
sure.
Like, if there's anything like, how would I put the question? How do you see liability? And a W-2 would there'd be more liability there for?
Oh, a lot more liability for you.
Okay.
I don't have insurance. Well, I mean, I do have insurance on my contractors, but it doesn't exactly cover my contractors. And this is an interesting thing, and this applies to W-2s as well. The clinic's insurance, if they're covering you working in their clinic, is not interested in you. They do not care about you. They care about who paid them, which is the clinic. If they can save $10,000 by ruining your career, they'll ruin your career.
Okay.
I have to say, in my opinion, I don't know that that's 100% true, but that's something I've educated my staff about, and it has come up. I tell them, you guys have to have your own well, you don't have to. They're contractors. They do whatever they want, but they should have their own professional insurance. And the example I can give is I had a staff working with a client. The client had some memory issues. Everything went fine. Eventually services ended. About 6 months later, I get a call from their insurance and they're like, hey, can you prove that this staff member ever saw this client? Because they don't know who this person is.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
They don't remember your company. They don't remember the staff member. And I'm like, what? You know, and this was years ago, so I didn't really know a lot about this. And I had to go and try and figure out how to prove that my staff had actually done their job,
Right.
which was not the easiest thing before telehealth.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And, you know, if that person had professional insurance, it probably, professional insurance costs like what, a couple $100 a year now, I think $200-300,
Yeah.
something like that. Their insurance, their lawyers would have handled all of it. They would have had their own lawyer. They would have done everything and they would have been fine. Now I, as again, trying to be a good person to run the company that I wanted to see, that I wanted to work for, I went to bat for this staff member and I went and did the work. It cost me about $15,000 to
Okay.
defend against, I don't know, what was probably $3,000 of services. And I'm that kind of guy.
Okay.
But
You grab a torch, you're going to run all the way to the end of the,
Yeah, right.
end of
And
the race there.
I looked at it
Yeah.
as a huge learning experience, and I
Yeah.
did. I
Okay.
learned a lot.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where, and now what I tell my staff, I've learned now. So now I've told my staff, if you guys don't have professional insurance and you get in this problem, I am not defending you. This is
Right, there you
ridiculous
go.
and it is not
Yeah.
cost effective. But they've been told, they've been informed. And that gets back to that culture and that fit is I really believe in a culture where people are given informed consent, right? We give our clients informed consent. We need to give our staff informed consent and also give the owners informed consent. Because being an owner and people want to have the fantasies about it, it is not fun sometimes. The amount of
Sometimes,
nights
right.
that I have sat up at night unable to sleep because some staff member did some stupid thing and I have to figure out how to solve it
Right.
is higher than any of my staff would ever imagine.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard being the place where the person where the buck stops.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure. Huh. Okay.
Did that answer your question about the liability?
Yeah. Yeah. I really, I think it does. It's
Well, one other piece with it is on the liability side, you as a business owner are liable for a ton of stuff that your
right.
W-2 staff does. There is a bit of a firewall between a contractor and you. So I've had a contractor do some stupid stuff and somebody tried to make it a legal issue. And I'm like, that's, as I said, that's their professional insurance.
Mhm.
My professional insurance, we're not concerned about this. This isn't a company problem. This was them as an independent contractor problem.
Okay. Yeah. I know with my policy, I've got the individual like malpractice, but then I do have an umbrella over that.
Yep.
So that one smart lawyer told me years ago, a person can sue anybody they want. And so, suing the practitioner and they could sue like the Jonas Center too. And so I've got some coverage for that.
Well, yeah. And they're not, I mean, the practitioner doesn't have any money.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Exactly.
If they want to get $50,000, they're not getting that out of the practitioner.
Yeah.
So
I think what listeners are going to take away from this, this discussion between contractor and employee question, it's there's no shortcut or there's no workaround. I am hearing from Sam that he's a real advocate for independent contractors, which is refreshing for me to actually hear because I'm used to hearing the other side. That's for sure. But it's a strategic decision, and you got to think legal, financial, clinically.
Don't forget your accountants.
And don't forget the accountants or the lawyers, to go after, to have them. But Sam, you've given me, and I hope the rest of us here, a real honest framework of thinking about this and working it through as we, traverse this land here in the mental health field. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Sam. And one more thing before we wrap up though, is, you've got a lot of things going on, Apollo, Fenris, the Arms Network. So you've stated a few times, but if you want to say one more time, anything about your businesses or how to contact you or anything like that, love to give you that opportunity here.
yeah. I mean, if anyone wants to reach out, ask me any questions, again, the consulting is Sam at Fenris, ENRISINC. So Sam at fenrisinc.com. And then the Arms Network, which there's not a lot on that webpage. Mostly it's the monthly meeting, which is the first Thursday of every month from, I believe, 10 to 11. There's a link right on the front page of www.armsnetwork.com, which is ARMHS. That you can literally click on it and it'll bring you right in. There's also, I think, a link for my email on there. And I'm happy to help out with anything. I definitely specialize in arms. That's obviously the thing that I do. Mm-hmm. But anything that comes up with 245i arms is involved with 245i. So I'm very conversant about that. And then also, I think the other area that I would be pretty good at talking is just, how do you make business decisions? Mm-hmm. I'm in year 7. Yeah, because 2019 was when it really started. My company started in 2017, but 2019 is when it actually did anything.
There you go.
And I've got my own second business now, and there's a level of, I've gone through more than one accountant, I've gone through more than one lawyer. I have a sense of what am I paying for. So if anyone has questions on that stuff, I'm always happy to help. And just reach out to me.
Awesome. Yeah. So use that. And if none of that works, you can reach out to us at Breezy as well. We'll happily connect you if you need that as well. So thanks for coming on, Sam. We usually do one more question before the end, and it's in this case we're switching it up a little bit. So usually we ask, what's on your mind lately, but what's on your horizon? What's coming up? What do you got upcoming, Sam? Anything cool coming up? Can be work, personal, anything at all.
I am in the middle of switching EHRs, so that's been a big thing.
Yeah.
And I've really excited about that. It's one of the best EHRs I've ever seen, and they're only improving it. So it's like, that's awesome.
That's good.
Yeah.
And then I think the other really big thing is I'm going to be, hopefully, please, whatever in the world is going to let me do this, I'm going to be going back to law school. So I'll be doing my second year of law school in the fall.
Oh, fantastic.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
shocking that
yeah. Sure. They're not just going to give you the degree quick.
I feel like the amount of times I talk about statute, I should have one.
Yeah. Suppose there's a little bit more to it than that.
Yeah. Law school is retraining your brain to think in a new way. So
okay. Very cool.
Believe it. Yeah.
How about you, Dad? What's on your horizon out here?
Well, on my horizon is I'm taking a trip. And I'm taking another trip. On the first trip, we're doing some golfing. That's this coming week. But we're going to tour like the Southwest. Another couple and my wife and I are going to do a road trip down there. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, fantastic.
Seeing some new stuff. And that's as I kind of sunset.
Oh, wow. Right on the horizon metaphor.
Right. Yeah, with this, but staying really active with the Jonas Center yet. So,
all right.
Yeah.
And I'll be picking up any slack that you leave.
This is what's on Paul's horizon.
And there's my horizon there.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, we'll see if you've actually been doing anything or not, I guess.
Right. I've been a W-2 employee, so
otherwise, for me, no, we got a fun spring break for the family planned, heading down to Florida, going to see some family down there.
Yeah.
And just keep the wheels on the bus here at Breezy.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, so make sure you follow us wherever you guys get your podcasts, and share this episode with a colleague who's thinking about growing their team and debating on, W-2 versus independent contracting.
Yes. And don't forget to sign up for our weekly newsletter, Trade Winds, and for more insights on running a behavioral health practice. And I guess with that said, then, until next time, keep your eyes on the horizon.